On July 9, 1952, at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the U.S. Army established its first Special Forces unit, which later became known as the Green Berets. Under the leadership of Colonel Aaron Bank, recruits began the Q course, a 20 to 24-week program that tested their physical endurance, survival skills, and language proficiency, and provided training in cultural and operational tactics needed for covert warfare. The Q course was conducted at Fort Bragg's Special Warfare Center and was divided into several phases, including rigorous physical conditioning, weapons handling, small unit tactics, land navigation under simulated combat conditions, and language and cultural immersion, designed to prepare soldiers for insertion behind enemy lines. Over the next decade, the unit improved its unconventional warfare techniques through several classified covert operations during the Cold War, including limited missions in both Latin America and Europe, earning a reputation for innovation and operational effectiveness. In mid-1965, as the conflict in Southeast Asia increased, the need for these specialized forces became clear. The Green Berets were deployed to South Vietnam, marking a shift in U.S. military strategy from conventional combat to counterinsurgency and irregular warfare. Upon arrival, they received further training at the U.S. Army Jungle Warfare Training Center near Tay Ninh. This advanced training involved extended field exercises, such as simulated ambush drills, river crossings, and defensive perimeter setups that closely replicated the dense jungles and rugged terrain of Vietnam. As a result, the unit transitioned from an advisory role to acting as frontline operatives. They began training local indigenous forces, such as the Montagnards, while also conducting independent reconnaissance missions and direct action operations against Viet Cong guerrilla fighters. At Camp Nam Dong, a remote Special Forces outpost located about 32 miles west of Da Nang in Thua Thien Province, the Green Berets stood guard, aware they occupied a critical position deep in hostile territory. On the night before the assault, a palpable sense of unease spread among the soldiers. While on patrol, radiomen received an ominous message from Sergeant Michael Disser reporting that local villagers were frightened and unwilling to explain why, hinting at imminent danger. Sergeant Terry Terran, returning from a 3-day patrol, reported that 2 village chiefs in the valley had been found murdered by the Viet Cong, a grim sign that trouble was brewing. Sensing the escalating tension, Captain Roger Donlon warned his team, "Get everyone buttoned up tight tonight, Hop. The VC are coming. I can feel it. I want everyone ready." These detailed warnings and first-hand reports left no doubt that something was seriously amiss that night, setting the stage for the brutal attack to follow. Shortly after 2:30 on July 6, 1964, Camp Nam Dong came under heavy Viet Cong fire estimated at more than 800 attackers. A barrage of mortar rounds and small arms fire slammed into the compound, prompting Green Beret personnel to scramble into preassigned defensive bunkers and mortar pits. Under the command of Captain Donlon, the team deployed M2 Browning 50 caliber machine guns and M60 general-purpose machine guns to lay suppressive fire, while an 81mm mortar crew delivered counter-battery volleys at suspected Viet Cong launch sites hidden along the tree lines. As the perimeter came under intense pressure, spotters in the watchtower observed Viet Cong squads attempting to cut through wire obstacles at the northeast edge of the camp. 2 Green Berets armed with M14 rifles and fragmentation grenades rushed to reinforce that sector. Meanwhile, radio operators using PRC-25 field radios urgently requested artillery support and potential air assistance. Several Viet Cong fighters managed to advance within 30 meters of the outer bunkers, forcing close-quarters engagements with M1911 pistols and M3 submachine guns. Illumination mortar rounds fired at intervals exposed enemy positions moving under the cover of darkness, enabling defenders to target concentrated enemy groups. Captain Donlon, wounded by shrapnel, continued directing mortar crews to suppress suspected enemy command positions southeast of the camp. Under the cover of these mortar strikes, 2 Green Beret teams briefly moved beyond the wire to disrupt forward enemy elements, forcing them to withdraw to the nearby tree line and granting the defenders a temporary lull. During this pause, the Green Berets consolidated ammunition, distributing extra M60 belts and grenades to those manning the perimeter. The unit medic stabilized multiple shrapnel and gunshot wounds, relocating the injured to safer shelter. Before dawn, the Viet Cong resumed their barrage with renewed mortar attacks aimed at the primary mortar pits, In response, the Green Berets shifted their 81mm tubes westward to maintain fire capabilities. South Vietnamese civilian irregular defense group troops, trained by the Green Berets, reinforced the main gate, further tightening the camp's defenses. As daylight began to illuminate the battered perimeter of Camp Nam Dong, the Green Berets pressed forward with a coordinated defense despite exhaustion, injuries, and limited supplies. Captain Roger Donlon, wounded but still actively commanding, ordered a thorough inspection of bunkers and mortar pits to confirm that every fighting position remained operational. Several men replaced damaged sandbags and shored up sections of the wire where Viet Cong forces had almost succeeded in cutting through during the night. Within the next hour, sporadic sniper fire from concealed positions at the tree line tested the defenders' vigilance. Two Green Berets armed with M14 rifles located one of the snipers using spotting scopes and neutralized the threat with precise shots. An 81mm mortar squad, sheltering behind a partially collapsed bunker, continued to deliver intermittent suppressive fire at suspected gathering points, relying on spent illumination shells to mark potential targets. Close to midday, the Viet Cong launched a renewed assault that began with a concentrated mortar barrage. Several rounds landed near the main mortar pit, forcing the Green Berets to shift their tubes and sandbag walls, yet again to maintain effective counterfire. By late afternoon, enemy fire diminished to sporadic bursts. Though mortar shells continued to drop intermittently, they no longer arrived in dense volleys. Recognizing an opportunity, the Green Berets reorganized their perimeter teams, redistributing belts of 7.62mm ammunition for the M60s and replenishing the mortar crews with additional rounds. Radio operators confirmed that reinforcements from nearby outposts might arrive by nightfall. As darkness fell, the enemy launched a sudden mortar barrage at 7:00 p.m., prompting the Green Berets to swiftly reposition their machine guns to neutralize the threat. By 9:00 p.m., a coordinated infantry assault erupted, igniting fierce close-quarters combat marked by rapid exchanges of rifle and submachine gunfire and explosive fragmentation grenades that briefly lit the night. As the relentless assault subsided past 11:00 p.m., the Green Berets adapted on the fly. Medics rushed to tend to the wounded while soldiers reloaded and repositioned under Captain Donlon's steady command. At approximately 5:20 in the pre-dawn darkness, the Green Berets detected the distinct sound of UH-1 Huey rotor blades approaching Camp Nam Dong. Captain Roger Donlon immediately confirmed via radio that air support, armed with M60 machine guns and 70mm rockets, was arriving as planned. With disciplined precision, Donlon ordered his men to mark key enemy positions with smoke grenades so that the incoming helicopters could accurately target concentrated enemy forces. As the Hueys executed low-level passes along the northeastern and southern perimeters, the Green Berets on the ground synchronized their actions with the airstrikes. Every burst of rockets and machine gun fire from the helicopters disrupted enemy formations, forcing Viet Cong fighters to scatter. Seizing the opportunity, ground teams advanced from their defensive positions using M16 rifles and fragmentation grenades. By 6:00, after a series of well-coordinated maneuvers, the enemy's cohesion had completely broken down. The helicopters made one final pass to verify that no significant resistance remained, and the disorganized Viet Cong forces retreated into the surrounding jungle. Camp Nam Dong's perimeter was declared secure. The siege at Camp Nam Dong proved to be one of the most costly engagements for the Green Berets. Available records indicate that during the intense fighting, two Green Berets, Master Sergeant Gabriel Alamo and Specialist John L. Houston, were killed in action, while several others sustained serious injuries. For his extraordinary leadership and relentless courage under heavy enemy fire, Captain Roger Donlon was awarded the Medal of Honor on December 5, 1964, in a ceremony at the White House by President Lyndon B. Johnson. Donlon, despite sustaining multiple shrapnel wounds during the siege, personally moved between firing positions to direct counterfire and rally his men against a 900-strong Viet Cong assault. In his acceptance speech, he humbly stated that the medal belongs to them too, acknowledging that the valor and sacrifice of his entire team made the defense possible. In addition, Master Sergeant Gabriel Pop Alamo and Specialist John L. Houston, who made the ultimate sacrifice during the battle, were posthumously awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. Several other Green Berets received the Silver Star and Bronze Star for valor, reflecting the critical roles they played in repelling the assault and preserving the integrity of Camp Nam Dong. Thanks for watching.